Well, good afternoon. It is wonderful to be with you again today, celebrating the outstanding contributions of women in policing from around the world. And I really wanted you to be blown away by St. John's. But at this time and during the past 24 hours, emergency responders and government officials have been working hard to mitigate the effects of the terrible windstorm outside. I am sure that many of you will appreciate that these people have been working for most of the past 24 hours. And while most people in this province are safely at home, they have been very focused on the task at hand. And I want to thank them very much for all they do for us in these kinds of situations particularly. I am deeply moved by the breadth and depth of contributions made by police officers and the magnitude of the impact you have on communities and people everywhere. The vision of IWAP is inspirational for women's lives to be free from discrimination, valued for their contribution, and treated with respect and dignity. Sunday was a great day with the opening ceremonies and the march through our capital city. You looked absolutely magnificent. And again, I welcome each and every one of you to Newfoundland and Labrador. It is my privilege to be here to show you our government's support for the work you do and share this day with so many strong, knowledgeable, and impressive women. You are leading the way in your communities. Many of you have been inspired to join policing because of the events that unfolded 11 years ago today. Some of you may have been directly involved in those events. Everyone affected by the tragedy of September 11th, 2001 is in our hearts and minds as we gather here today. It was a moment in history that none of us will ever forget. September 11th, 2001 had a direct impact on our province. 75 flights carrying 13,000 passengers were diverted to airports throughout Newfoundland and Labrador. It was a day when human kindness flowed in the midst of unspeakable horror and suffering. We were privileged here in this province to have had the opportunity to soothe some of the heartbreak and chaos in a time of devastation and destruction. The police officers of Newfoundland and Labrador did an incredible job assisting during the events of those days. They provided enhanced security while at the same time continuing their regular policing duties to the residents of our province. Their presence helped reassure us about our safety and security during a difficult and uncertain time. Indeed, law enforcement officials around the world, particularly in New York, Arlington, Washington, and Pennsylvania, are to be lauded for their work on September 11th. I am certain the memory of that day must still resonate with all of you deeply and personally, as it does with me. The role of law enforcement officers and sacrifices they made on that day will never be forgotten. The strides you and other women have made have helped pave the way to encourage young women and girls to pursue policing as a career choice. Your achievements have helped to advance the status of women. Former UN Secretary General and recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, Kofi Annan, once said, "When women thrive, all of society benefits, and succeeding generations are given a better start in life." Each of you here today understands fundamentally the benefits to all of society when women are empowered. The increasing role of women in police and justice services has a broad impact on women throughout society. The role of women in these leadership positions are leading to new and more appropriate responses in situations of victimization, violence, and abuse. You are working in a field that has been traditionally dominated by men, but you are part of the change towards gender equity in policing. It is my honor, it really is my honor, to be here to show my support for the work that you do. The strides you and other women have made in policing have paved the way to encourage young women and girls to pursue this as a career choice. Your achievements have helped, as I've said, to now and then, women should do for themselves what men have already done, and occasionally what men have not done, thereby establishing themselves as persons and perhaps encouraging other women towards greater independence of thought and action. I believe all of the women sitting here this afternoon are examples that Ms. Earhart was talking about. And whether you are an award recipient or not, each of you deserves our accolades and esteem. By becoming leaders in policing and justice in your communities and countries, you are, as Amelia Earhart pointed out, encouraging in women more independent thought and action. Incidentally, Amelia Earhart has a special connection to Newfoundland and Labrador. In 1932, she left the town of Harbour Grace to become the first woman to fly the Atlantic Ocean solo. Sometimes we all feel like we're flying solo. Some days I do, I have to tell you. But we're not. There is strength in numbers. I take particular pride in the work this government is doing to address historical disadvantages for women. We are working to increase women in leadership roles and business, as well as taking steps to advance women in trades and other non-traditional occupations such as policing, justice, and corrections. We are very proud of the measures the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are taking to ensure that more women join their ranks in Newfoundland and Labrador. Historically, in this province, a career in policing was not an option for women. The Royal Newfoundland Constabulary has the deepest roots of any police force in North America, dating back to 1729. However, it was not until 1980 that the first women were sworn in as constables. 32 years later, though, many things have changed. Now the RNC and the RCMP both actively recruit women into the forces in order to reflect the communities they serve. And that is so important in everything we do, not only in policing, but in governance. We should always, always reflect the communities we serve. Since 2004, the number of female RNC officers has increased from 6% to 21%. I recognize that women still face many barriers to entering positions of leadership and to accessing workplace opportunities. That is why our government has made it a priority that gender equity and diversity is part of development planning as we prepare for the expected boom in economic activity on the horizon in the growing energy and mining sectors. As a result, in this province, we now have a gender equity and diversity program. My project entering the environmental assessment process must have provisions. Any project entering the environmental process has to have provisions for women's employment and business opportunities. Our gender equity and diversity agreements with our oil and gas partners are the first of their kind in the world, something I'm very, very proud of. As a result, we have a world-renowned women's employment plan policy so that any project must have those provisions and make sure that women are included and not marginal when we have that economic engine driving employment in Newfoundland and Labrador. Over the past 5 years, these requirements have helped increase the number of women working in trades in Newfoundland from 3% to 10%. There is no doubt that the future for women in this province is brighter than it has ever been. As Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, the prevention of violence against women is another one of my priorities, and we have partnered closely with our policing forces to achieve our goals. Over the past 6 years, we have invested $12 million in violence prevention measures, including the province-wide Respect Women and Purple Ribbon campaigns to help create awareness and prevent violence against women. You can find purple ribbons and information on these campaigns in your delegate kits. Both the RCMP and the RNC proudly display the purple ribbon on their patrol vehicles, highlighting their commitment to preventing violence against women. It is our challenge as women to promote a better understanding of the need for violence prevention and to take proactive measures against all forms of violence. We also have an important obligation as women to educate our own police forces of the special circumstances of women who experience violence. Looking forward, we see a particular need for more education and awareness of cyber violence, particularly amongst young girls. Next month in our province, the status of women ministers from all 4 Atlantic provinces will gather with the RNC and the RCMP to launch a strategy to educate young girls and parents about cyber safety. This is a concern that knows no geographic boundaries. We must, in all our various jurisdictions, challenge this in order to ensure the safety and security of our young people. There is no doubt, as I've said before, that the future of young women in this province is brighter than it has ever been. And as I look around this room, I know each of you has your own success story, created as a result of your aspirations, your commitment, and your determination. It takes a selfless person with drive and energy to work for the greater good of community. When you return to your home countries and continue your work, I encourage you to look back on this day and this conference. Remember your colleagues in policing from around the world and how far women in policing have come. And once again, to the women who are receiving an award this afternoon, your remarkable accomplishments are indeed inspirational. Congratulations on this impressive achievement. Congratulations again to the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and especially RNC Inspector Suzanne Bill and RCMP Corporal Colleen Fox for providing opportunities for me to participate in your conference. I appreciate it so much. It has been an honor to join you. It's been touch and go all morning. I've been out and about, and I'm waiting to make sure that everything is okay before I admit to the far wider audience that I get cabin fever when there's bad weather, and I love to get out and about in it. And if you can have really terrific weather, I think, that makes you feel really alive and nobody gets harmed or injured in it, it's absolutely fabulous. I heard you had a fabulous morning by candlelight. Leave it to women to bring ambiance to learning opportunities. I love it. It is so wonderful to be here with you. It is exciting for the whole city to have you among us. The weather will quieten down. I think a sunshine forecast for the rest of the week. Enjoy this beautiful place. It is a magical magical place. Bring wonderful memories with you and come back and see us again when perhaps we can promise that the weather will be more temperate. Thank you so much.